Welcome Marilyn Minter, the incredible American visual artist, known for both your sensual paintings and photographs done in a photorealistic style. I also want to point out that you're currently a teacher in the MFA program at the School of Visual Arts in New York. And we're thrilled to have you be part of this. I was incorrect yesterday. I said 18th episode. It's our 19th episode of this conversation. So welcome.
Thank you, Brooke.
So I'm going to dive into the first question, and I'm just going to restate that you are, Marilyn, best known for a lot of work that really explores the female body, notions of beauty, desire, pleasure, across multiple mediums. So we have paintings, photographs, video, and some describe your work as steamy, soiled, smeared, and sensual. Lots of alliteration there. I want to hear what your response is to that description and how you describe yourself.
Well, I try and, it sounds it might sound ingenuous, but I don't see my work the way viewers see it. I just have this vision and I have to make the vision. And my goal is mostly to have multiple reads, not just one read, because I have multiple reads about almost everything. And I'm always thinking in terms of what do we know exists, but you've never seen an image of it. And that's always what I'm thinking. Like, I've never seen that, even though I know it exists. Like, you pull down your socks. This is the example I use all the time. If you pull down your socks, you'll have lines on your legs. And everyone knows that. And that's what I would take a picture of. And I've done it. I've made paintings with things like that. Or, you have, freckles get airbrushed, so I will put them in. Or people sweat, I will put that in. These are things that you never see in popular culture. It's just part of life. Your armpit hair grows. I'll take a painting of that. Imperfection is, we're untidy humans. We're shot through with imperfection. And I think that trying to erase these things, trying to obliterate them, especially in the age of social media, is making us sicker.
I was going to say, you're the antithesis of the filter culture.
Yes, exactly. I don't think that's healthy for anybody. I think it really creates a lot of body dysmorphia. But I also know at the very same time, it gives people so much pleasure to look at images of glamour and fashion. So I think of it as like this giant industry in our culture, but we have nothing but contempt for it. I see, intellectuals and academics will hide their magazines, but they'll be dressed in head to toe Prada or something. It's like this it's a shameful obsession. And I think that that's a major problem in the world, because why are we ashamed of it giving us pleasure? Is it because of the body dysmorphia? And it's also one of the places where women have their, real power. It's one of the few places where women have always had power. And at the same time, everyone looks at these images, they get pleasure, but they know they're never going to look like that. And actually, the models don't even look like that. Nobody looks like the advertising world and the consumption world that we see.
I'm so curious. It's not one of the questions I had planned, but your thoughts on plastic surgery.
Oh, I don't, it's so hard being female in this culture. Anything that makes you feel good about yourself, I'm all for. Anything that gives you pleasure, I have no critique. I'd like to see if I can not have plastic surgery, but I might. Who knows? I don't have any. I actually think whatever is going to make you feel good. It is so hard to be alive.
I know.
The Hemingway quote about the world breaks everyone, and some of us get stronger in the broken places. That's really life.
Yes. So let's go back to your art, because you have such an interesting, we can see in some of the paintings, I love what's behind you. I think that's Lady Gaga on one side. I'm not sure.
It's a portrait. Yeah, I'm painting it now. And the other one is my practice painting. I'm doing all these portraits now. And the one on the other side is my first one that I learned I taught myself how to paint steam with dots. So these paintings are all made out of dots, like pointillism actually, layers and layers and layers. So that's a work in progress. The first layer is being put in right now, and then this is one that's finished and glazed.
So you have so many different techniques that you use. You know, you use your body quite a bit. You use photographs. So how does this come to be? Is it just through experimentation or?
Yeah. We just play in here. I do things for fun. I do things that are going to make me happy. You know, I know to work from what I get pleasure out of doing. So, but I have to make a lot of things that are really disastrous first, you know, before I get it to work. So, when I started trying to paint steam, you know, it didn't work at first, but then I figured out how to do it with layers and layers and layers, and the paintings take a really long time. They're very labor intensive, but I want that depth, and I could only get it with enamel paint because I work with basically CMYK colors better than primary colors. Well, I work both. I use primaries too.
Were you saying working with steam?
Well, yeah, all the paintings or the portraits are all people coming in from steam, coming in from outside or fog or, you know, it's a way I can break up the space.
So cool. Well, I'm going really more off topic than even usual because you're saying so many interesting things.
Oh, thank you.
Let's talk about, you were one of the first artists to really explore this idea of working with sexual imagery with the female body. And you were met with a lot of resistance initially. Can you just talk about that experience a little bit and what you learned and maybe why you think you were met with so much resistance?
Well, there is always resistance to sexual imagery if women are the agency. And it's been that way since dawn, really. I mean, women are supposed to be the objects of sexual desire. And when women own the agency of it or the production of it, it causes a lot of trouble. But I get away with it at my age. Betty Thompson gets away with it. These were the pioneers, Betty Thompson and Carol Lee Schneeman, Judith Bernstein. I just went hardcore. That's, you know, because I thought, what does it mean for woman-owned sexual imagery? Does it change the meaning? And I was a pro-sex feminist at the time, which I thought everybody else was too. So it was a big shock to me that there was, I really thought that, well, number one, I always say this, nobody has politically correct fantasies, correct? And like I said, I try and make things that we know exist, but you just never seen it before. So I was my whole goal was to see if it changed the meaning. And the problem I had in the 80s was that probably because I was taking an abusive history and reclaiming it and repurposing it. And I didn't come down. The expectation of a feminist from the 80s was that I would condemn sexual imagery, but I got a lot of pleasure out of looking at porn, and so I thought, well, why can't I own it and make images for my own amusement, my own pleasure? And so that's what I did. I mean, I took 3 women standing around in a erect penis, and I called it the singers, because I thought it was funny, and. But because I was, I think there was so much fear at that point from taking this abusive history. And it was before the internet, remember? And I had to go search for porn. I had to go to 42nd Street, which I did all the time. And what was so funny is, 42nd Street, I'm sorry if you don't even know this, but it was the street of, you could go into X-rated and get magazines and videos and there were all kinds of shops, and women never went in them.
In the
So
80s, right?
yeah,
In New York in the 80s.
yeah, New York in the 80s,
Yeah.
42nd Street. There were places on Wall Street too. I went to both
Yeah.
places. But it's really, really funny. I should have told the girls that were against pornography that were always on the street that all you have to do is walk in these places and the aisles would just clear when I walked down the aisle. Looking for images. I thought maybe
Trailblazing.
I thought maybe they thought I was an aging porn star or something, you know, looking for images because everyone was so freaked out. I
You're
thought it was
very
really
brave.
funny.
I mean, you're brave and you have a fearlessness, you know, that there seems to be like that you skip the step of hesitation that others might
No,
have
no,
who
I have fear. I have fear. I feel like, you know, everybody has fear, but I feel like the only way you get rid of fear is by going through it, you know, getting on the other side of it. But no, I'm riddled with fears.
we can get to that.
Yeah.
Um, so we've talked about, okay, the body is obviously a major theme of your work, and I want to talk about the tools you actually use for the artists listening to create the work. So an example is you're painting pop rocks, where you actually the tongue is or your fingers were used, but it's about the body. You're using the body to create it. Can you talk a little bit about that, and then let me see if I'm savvy enough to figure out how to pull this image up.
Well, Pop Rocks is, you know, this is when about 208, 209, I started shooting behind glass. And I was thinking in terms of, it was my video, Green Pink Caviar, that started it. And I thought, what does it look like if you paint colors with your tongue? And I was thinking about, of course, not using paint, but I used candy. And then I found out from a makeup artist that candy or cake decoration mixed with vodka was more viscous. So I asked for models with really long tongues, and they had to hold their breath, and
Oh
I had them you know, swirling it and spitting it out and swirling it and spitting it out because I thought it looked really beautiful. And I've been working behind glass too, like the steam portraits. They're all like, you know, women, men, children in fogs. All the portraits that I'm doing, you know,
yeah.
they're in some kind of a fog because we look at everything behind screens anyway.
I'm having, this is the second week I've been having some technical issues. So, but I encourage everybody to look up the work, Pop Rocks. It's such a cool image, and all of your work is so visceral and graphic and just raw, but so beautiful. And let's talk about so right now on display at Mocha Westport, for our friends at Mocha Westport, you have an incredible exhibit that's called Smash. And for anyone in the area, please go check it out. And it's devoted exclusively. So another medium is your videos.
Well,
You're
it's all
exploring.
video. Yeah,
Yeah, it's
that's
all
show at
videos.
Mocha. Yeah.
So why did you decide for this collection to do exclusively video content?
Because they asked me to do it. Nobody else. Well, actually, I had a show of videos at Perez Projects in San Francisco, but this was every video I've ever made. And this was started from 1989. I made a TV commercial to advertise a show instead of buying. I was given money from my two galleries to buy ads in Art Forum and ARTnews, and I took that same money and I bought a 30-second spot on David Letterman. And how much do you think a
Oh.
30-second spot on David Letterman would cost?
What year was it?
1989, 1990.
Gosh, I want to guess something very inexpensive because of the way you're asking it.
Yeah, it's like was $1,200.
Yeah.
So instead of buying art magazine ads, I bought, and because everybody I knew watched David Letterman at night,
Yeah.
you know, and it's late night television. So I bought it in ads. I bought David Letterman, Arsenio Hall, which was another talk show at night, and Nightline, which was a terrific talk show. So it was a late night TV, and the most expensive was 3,000 at Nightline. So you know, I used that same amount of money.
Wow.
Yeah, and
So
I wanted
you're
to be the first.
saying, oh, so you bought advertising on late night television as opposed to what everyone else told you to do, which was go, you know, in the the art
In art magazines,
publication.
yeah.
Right. And did anyone advise you on that, or you just had a gut instinct you wanted to try that?
I wanted to be the first one that did it. And there were people that had worked in that, like Chris Burden, genius Chris Burden. He did an ad, a 10-second spot that listed, I forgot it was Picasso, Matisse, Raphael, Chris Burden. It was just names,
Mm-hmm.
And
Yeah.
I thought, but I wanted to advertise a show. And at that point in time, no one had done that. I'd heard ads for museum shows, and I thought, well, I'd like, there was a movie theater near me, and I wanted to do ads for art shows instead of having all trailers for movies. I just wanted to stick one in between, and because there was these art theaters all over Manhattan. So I just thought about like new ways to get people to come. But if you look at the ad, it's called 100 Food Porn, and it's on YouTube. It's not buy one, get one free. It's really a very obscure thing. If you didn't know what it was, you wouldn't know what it was.
What's it called? Sorry, 1-800 what?
100 Food Porn.
I mean, the best ideas are always so obvious after you do them.
Yeah.
But it's at the time, I mean, that sounds so.
Well, I had no money, so I had to make these paintings to trade with everybody who worked on the commercial, because I just wanted to make the commercial. So I made 100 paintings, 100 small paintings of food being torn apart, and that's how I paid for the commercial, and for the people that edited it and shot it, and yeah.
Wow.
I used people that worked that did the sound. I used Ted Hames, who shot it. I used Tom and Andy, who did first people doing digital music. That was the first. They had worked for MTV. Everybody I worked with worked from MTV.
So you had a real team of professionals. So at the Mocha Westport exhibit, there's one, I have not been in person. I live in California and sadly have not seen it, but I heard that tell us about the car.
Oh, the car, yeah.
Yeah, can you just tell us a little bit about that?
Well, the car's the best thing about it. I made the car a long time ago with Larry Warsh, who commissions artists to make cars. So I made a video that's a sculpture. And what I did is I took a pacer that has a giant window, and I don't know, my husband found it online, and Larry bought it and had it called here, and we chromed the whole thing. Chromed it, made it really shiny, and then we shot. We used a bitmap maker, and it's projected. The video is projected on the windows because everyone makes out in cars. At least my age group. I don't know if they do that anymore.
I think drive-ins are coming back.
Yeah,
they're trending in the quarantine.
I grew up in the South, and your first kiss was usually in a car. So yeah, you can see that. It's called Green Pink Caviar, and it's in the car. And it's the first time I made the car a few years ago, but no one ever wanted to show it. But Mocha said, let's do it. And so, I mean, no one ever wanted to show it because no one knew about it, really. And I told Mocha about it, and they said, let's do it. And so it's my prize and joy of the show.
Fantastic. Green Pink Caviar. Green Pink Caviar at
Pacer. It's a Green Pink Caviar Pacer.
Pacer. And it's part of the Smash exhibit at Mocha Westport.
Yes.
Just because I have a history in fashion, I was interested in your 2007 Tom Ford campaign that you shot. Can you just tell us a little bit about how because you've had such an expansive career, how did you get in with Tom Ford to shoot this campaign?
Oh, I think it was right after he left Gucci. And he was starting off on his own, and his husband is an art collector, and he saw my work at the Whitney Biennial. And what I had done is all these really expensive shoes in mud, like splashing mud. And I had these billboards all over New York City at the time. That was like that's another thing, billboards. I love doing billboards. So he thought, oh, Tom's changing his entire and you know, going into
Yeah.
fashion.
Yeah.
Let's get something new. But he didn't like what I did. But he did do the shoes, but I think I was a little too you know, I don't do that much commercial work, but I love it when I get a job. It's so rare because I go too
Oh,
far.
I love that. I mean, anyone who is on listening, look up this campaign, the
Yeah.
glasses, the just it's this there's so much texture in your work, and I love that.
Well, he
I
couldn't
thought
have been nicer. He couldn't have been nicer, but he didn't like it.
well, I liked it for whatever
Thank
it's
you.
worth.
Thank you.
Let's just quickly go in because this was another fun factoid that I just loved. You don't have an engagement. You're married. You don't have an engagement ring or a wedding band.
Oh yeah.
It's tattooed.
Yeah.
I
Well, I'm
love
in
that.
pain. I'm in pain all the time, you know? It's like
I wanted to see it. Oh
well,
yeah.
that's my wedding ring and that's my engagement ring. My husband has one too. And then this is my, after 20 years. Oh, you can't see it. Marilyn and William. I don't know. I have to stand
Aw.
up. Let me get it. Marilyn and William at M&M. And then we're
Oh,
30 years.
M&Ms.
So we're 30 years now, and I'm just about to get another tattoo. I don't know
Well,
what yet. We have to
the
figure it out.
tattoo wedding ring is genius, especially given all the hand washing in the last year.
That's a good point.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah. Interesting.
Okay, so you are an activist, Marilyn, and you have been quoted saying everyone thinks they can't do anything because they're alone. You said that's a lie. Everybody can do something. So tell us what you mean by that, and tell us a little bit about your work as an activist.
Oh, that's like I've been an activist since I was 16, so you really don't want to hear.
That's a novella.
Yeah. No, it's like yeah, it's a novella. But you know, I've always I I mean, I think most people actually can't bear to look at injustice. And there's always something one can do, you know, and that's what I learned early on. And especially now, you know, we just can't afford to be silenced. I feel like democracy's just hanging by a thread. And you know, you could volunteer at Planned Parenthood doing clinic defense. You know, that's one of the things I did. There's so many small things you can do. You know, uh, you know, get like there was during the pandemic. I encouraged people to become poll watchers, especially young people,
Hmm.
because you know all you had to do was show up. You know, and make sure uh, that it was a safe place to go and vote there all you have to do is like look especially online, you know, to Pod Save America, Swing Left, just join one of these organizations. They'll give you things to do, you know, and
It's
that's
great
all
advice.
about. You know, I'm not really a policymaker, but I'm a good propagandist, so I know how to do I know how to make videos or banners.
Billboards.
Yeah, billboards. Yeah, I'm an image maker,
Yeah,
I'm a trickster. So I think you're better off being instead of being. I think anger works really well. I'm better using humor because I feel like you know that is very very powerful. And Margaret Atwood had this thing. Well, she did research, and that women are afraid of being attacked, and men are afraid of being laughed at. And
that's
so they're,
interesting.
yeah, those are their biggest fears. And so I was thinking, you know, to fight anger, which is this, you know, there's this, the patriarchy is so afraid of sharing power. You know, the fear, they're just so scared. And so anger, they know how to fight, but humor, I love these guys in I think it's in Norway or yeah, where instead of they have white power meetings, well, they dress up as brides and they show up at the white power meetings as bride transvestites. Wife power, they have wife power banners.
A wife power.
That's just and or there's that tuba player who's trolling the Ku Klux Klan marching in Tennessee or Kentucky, and he's playing cartoon music, and they just don't know what to do. You know, it's like so much more powerful than anger. I think that's my way of uh, resisting. I try and use
You are
humor.
naturally funny, so that is a gift. And we'll talk about your Instagram in a second, because that's a whole other level of funny. You also talk about, and I think this is interesting because you are such an advocate for women and what, women sort of finding their source of pleasure and happiness. And you say that women just naturally compete with one another. That's just
Oh
kind of
yeah.
a given. And that
Hmm.
you don't believe women who say that they're not competitive. You think that's so. You said it's
I think it's in our
healthy.
DNA. Yeah.
Yeah. And you talk about complimenting other women or going up to somebody and saying something kind. So I just thought that was interesting because I read about it a few times, that you
It
said that.
works. Yeah, it gets rid of the poison. Because envy is poison. Yeah. And
Yeah.
if the person you like feel competitive with, you usually because they've done something pretty cool, they do something a little better than you or more interesting, or you don't usually feel competitive with somebody who isn't as accomplished. So whenever I see somebody who's like really talented, I don't want to. I want them to die. I want to be the only one that's talented. But I do it with men too. I just say, wow, I love your work. And the minute you say, oh, I think you're such a good artist, the poison drains and then you become colleagues. And believe me, I don't want to do it. I make myself do it. I retweet other artists all the time. I put other artists on my Instagram every chance I get, especially if I'm jealous of them, because then the
Is there
jealousy goes
somebody,
away.
are you willing to admit on this IGTV somebody you've lately been jealous of and complimented?
Oh, probably, let's see. Well, I'm really jealous. Well, it's a guy. I think this is one of the best things I've ever seen is Arthur Jaffe's Love is the message is death. So I talk about it everywhere I go. It's just a genius video. It's only
Okay.
7 minutes. Yeah, yeah. He's just a genius. Oh,
Fantastic.
it's almost every famous artist you know. I'm jealous of them
Yeah.
all, but I know that I'm going to learn from them. It's like working with better tennis players. If you're trying to be a good tennis player, this is like I go to their studios. I mean, one of my best friends, is Lori Simmons and Cindy Sherman and Louise Lawler. They're just great fucking artists, and Nicole Eisman and Wangechi Mutu and Lorna Simpson. These are geniuses. Hank Willis Thomas. I love these guys, and I'm
Yeah.
really jealous of them.
We had Hank on. Hank was one of our first interviews. He's just so fantastic.
The minute I saw his work, I put him in a magazine that said, okay, I thought, damn, he's fucking good. Can I say that?
Yeah. You did. You've worked with him with his Four Freedoms, right? I think I read that. Yeah.
I work with anyone practically that asks me. I mean, in the last 4 years, I was insane trying to get rid of Trump. So anybody that asks, and I will work with, where I think I could be effective. I can make images, I can make billboards, I can make things that'll raise money. That's another thing artists can do. When you said, what can you do? If you're an artist, you could donate pieces.
Yeah.
Even if, and I don't, because most artists aren't, I really don't believe most artists are, you think like Hank or Barbara Kruger. These are all people Barbara's a goddess.
Hmm.
She really answers the moment, right? Historically, she's just the answer. Anything, everything she makes. And same with Carol Walker. My God, a genius. I promote and I try and even buy. I have to buy in installments with Kara. I want.
You are so much fun. And honestly, that was such a great I mean, you named so many artists. It's so refreshing to hear an artist compliment so many other talents, the way, and you can
you
tell you mean it.
Well, if you
Um,
don't do it, you'll become a bitter, crazy person. You have to get rid of that envy. You really have to.
So
It'll kill you.
really quickly to your Instagram account because I want people to follow you. You are so funny. I've laughed out loud. I screenshot a few of you have like everything from, I would say, adages to clever observations of people around you, as well as, talking about other artists you admire. But you seem to always find that awkward moment no one else is noticing. But talk about social media. How do you leverage it? Like, what do you think its function is in your life?
Well, it's confusing. I mean, there's so many pros and cons. I'm a Twitter junkie,
Mm.
and I find Twitter to be sort of a rage machine, and I don't think it's really healthy for me now that and I'm trying to cut back on it. And that's on Twitter. I follow a lot of people, but whereas on Instagram, I'm a reader, and I love to read, so I really don't follow anybody on Instagram, although I post all the time.
Yeah.
So because I'm a Twitter junkie, I could only have one social media. I can't do five of them,
Yeah.
and I sort of and I know it's hypocritical because I know Facebook's owned by Instagram is Mark Zuckerberg, and but I'm really trying. I think Facebook is really dangerous,
Yeah.
and I'm trying to just leave it altogether. Whereas I don't know, Instagram still hasn't fallen into right wing fascist rhetoric yet. But I don't. It's like really, I have no answers on this. I think it can be really positive, and I think it can be really negative. I don't know. I just, there's got to be a healthy place in there somewhere, and I think that right now we're just pumped through to go where the rage is, right and
Hmm.
left, right and left, and we have to learn to forgive each other because we
Yeah.
have.
Yeah, no, we certainly do.
Mhm.
I think we are out of time, but I just want to bring it back to your art just one more second, just because I'd love everyone to think about your art as we walk away here. What is there one piece of one work you've done kind of in the course of your career that just you feel like was the first thing that really kind of captured your essence, or you felt like, yes, like this is me. This is, I mean, it's really not an easy
I
question
don't
to
know.
answer. Yeah.
Yeah,
I,
it's like I feel like I've made the same image over and over and over. They just look different from the time I was 12. Honestly, I feel like I'm all, I have sort of, they're all the same, and I want to grow and change and become a better artist. I feel like, okay, my answer is I haven't made it yet.
well, what can we come to expect from you in the future besides, so we know that you haven't made your signature essence capturing piece, but anything else, any future, anything that you're working on?
I have two shows coming up. One at Montpellier and at Mocha in Montpellier with Betty Tompkins, and we have the whole museum.
Wow.
And that's in June uh, with Nicholas Beauregard's museum, and he just got fired because he was too radical for us. So at least he's being Betty that town in Montpellier. And then I have a show with Jeannie Greenberg at the new Salon 94 in May 2022, and I'm working
Okay.
on that now.
Fantastic. Well, you've been a pleasure. Everyone follow Marilyn Minter. If you're on the East Coast and you are near Mocha Westport, go see this fantastic show, Smash. And Marilyn, thank you so much. And we will continue to follow you, and hopefully we can have you back when your next show goes live. That would be great.
Oh, thank you so much, Brooke.